Okay, recording confirmed. Good day, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, Orientation to the ATE Conference for New Attendees. Today is Friday, September 7th. I'm your host, Mike Lasecki. My organization is Luca Partners, coming to you from our satellite office in Kansas City today, where it is raining really hard, so I hope you don't hear too much background noise from that. Let's first get started on this webinar by acknowledging our host for today, that is ATE Central. ATE Central is your resource hub for the ATE community. All kinds of resources there, upcoming events. Take a look at them at atecentral.net. Thank you. And by the way, this webinar is sponsored by the National Science Foundation, but of course the remarks and opinions made by the presenters are theirs and do not necessarily represent those of the National Science Foundation. Thank you. Today I'm pleased to introduce our first presenter, Elaine Kraft. She's the director and the principal investigator of the Mentor Connect project in South Carolina. Welcome, Elaine. Say hello to everyone and please introduce your co-presenter.
Hey, Mike. I'm afraid I'm getting a little bit more credit than I deserve. Today's lead presenter actually is Ellen Haas of the American Association of Community Colleges in Washington, D.C. Ellen is also a principal investigator of an ATE project, and it is because she does that that we actually have an ATE PI conference that we can attend. So Ellen will actually be kicking us off today.
Great. Thank you, Elaine, and thank you, Mike. And thank all of you for joining us today, and welcome. It's our hope that this webinar will help to orient you to the conference, help you maximize your time at this meeting, and it gives us an opportunity to answer any questions you may have prior to the event. Speaking of questions, if you have questions at any time during this webinar, please type them into the chat box. We will be addressing them as we go, and we'll also have designated question breaks where we will go through those questions and answer them for you. So I want to start by just going over what we're going to cover today. We'll do some general conference background. We'll touch on registration, hotel, and travel. We'll go over the conference content, types of sessions offered, and general flow. We'll go over ways to participate in the conference with detailed information on the showcase sessions. We'll talk about some tips on identifying and connecting with your program officer at the conference. We'll go over student participation in student events and some other commonly asked questions. So we'll start with the what, where, when, who, and why. And I'd like to get a sense of who is in our audience today. So if you could take a moment and answer the following poll and let us know if this is your first conference or if you've been before or if you've been several times. See the results coming in. Great. Well, welcome. It looks like the majority of you are new attendees and that we have a few veterans in the group. So we hope that we do answer your questions and do our best to orient you to this event. And for any of you that have been veterans that have attended this event, if you'd like to contribute any comments or insights to the chat box to talk about your experience, we encourage you to do so. Okay, thank you. We can close the poll. So we'll move forward into what it is. So this is the National Advanced Technological Education Principal Investigators Conference. So we refer to it as the ATE PI Conference, or the ATE Conference for short. As all of you know, I think principal investigators are the leads of the grant, of your ATE grants. So this is the National Professional Development and Networking event for all ATE grantees and their project partners. The event is co-sponsored by the National Science Foundation and the American Association of Community Colleges, and the conference is primarily funded through a grant to AACC. For those of you who may not be familiar with AACC, we're the primary advocacy organization for the nation's community colleges, representing nearly 1,200 two-year associate degree granting institutions and more than 13 million students. And we've been working with NSF to host the annual ATE conference for the past 24 years. This year marks the 25th anniversary of the ATE program, so it's a good first conference to attend. We're going to have a lot of celebration and acknowledgement of this milestone at the conference this year. So the where and when the conference is held in the Washington, D.C. metro area each year. We do this so we're in close proximity to the National Science Foundation, which allows program directors and leadership from NSF to attend. The dates for the conference this year are October 24 through 26, and it's held at the Omni Shoreham Hotel. This is an actual picture on the slide of the hotel. It's a beautiful historic property in downtown D.C., and it's accessible right off the metro rail system. Hopefully you've seen this. This is this year's registration brochure that captures our theme this year, ATE at 25, Leading Development of America's Technological Workforce. And I just also want to remind you of the conference URL. We're in the process of developing the agenda now, and we'll have all the sessions posted in the next couple of weeks. And we'll send out an announcement to that effect as well, but just so you have the URL at your fingertips where we'll be posting updated information. So who attends the conference? Approximately 800 to 850 people attend the conference each year. Participants include ATE project and center PIs, co-PIs, and their grant partners from business, industry, K-12, and four-year institutions. NSF program officers and AACC staff attend, as well as selected guests representing the federal government and STEM-related nonprofits and associations. And the conference also includes opportunities for approximately 50 ATE students to attend, and we'll go over the student participation piece a little later in the webinar. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Elaine to talk to you about why you should attend. Elaine?
Thanks, Ellen. Perhaps the most compelling reason to attend the ATE-PI conference is that NSF expects you to be there. Even so, it is one of the nicest perks that comes with being an ATE grantee. It's a privilege to attend as a principal investigator, a project team member, a project partner, a college administrator, or perhaps a project evaluator. The conference helps you connect with other ATE grantees and makes it possible to consider your project in the context of the national impact ATE has on technician education. The conference provides a unique type of professional development not likely to be found elsewhere, especially the learning that results from peer sharing in the context of being an ATE grantee and technician educator. You will learn things at the conference that will help you in your work today and in the future. You will be surrounded by people who are extremely interested in your work, including NSF program officers and fellow ATE grantees who understand both the joys and challenges of being an innovator in technician education. Now, Ellen will cover some of the conference logistics.
Thanks, Elaine. So in this section, we'll go over registration, hotel reservation, and travel arrangements, just to make sure you're all familiar if you haven't taken care of these as of yet. So just as a bit of background, AACC receives a list of active grant awards from the National Science Foundation. And upon receipt of this list, we send out an email as well as printed materials to the project or the center PI. So please note that initial communication regarding the conference only goes to the PIs. That's the contact information provided to us by NSF. And so therefore, it's important for the PI to share information about the conference with their team members. As conference team members register, then they're on our distribution list and we can make sure everyone is sent information. So to register for the event, you can do that online through our website. You must and you'll need your grant number to register. Your grant number is used as a registration code. And the number of attendees a project or a center can bring to the conference is designated by NSF and AACC. A certain number of slots are allocated for each project and center, and this is with the goal of keeping attendance at a manageable size to promote networking and information sharing and ATE community building. So the chart on the screen actually breaks down what registration costs are covered by AACC and what should be covered by your grant. So each project will receive 2 complimentary registrations along with lodging for 2 nights for 2 people. And projects can also bring up to 3 additional people and cover their lodging and registration fees. Centers also receive 2 complimentary registrations along with lodging for 2 people for 2 nights. Centers can bring up to an additional 5 people and cover their lodging and their registration fees. And project and center teams are responsible for assigning who on their teams will receive the complimentary registration, and that's done online by inserting your grant number again. And once you've used all the comps, the online system will let you know that your comps have been allocated. For those of you who do not receive complimentary registrations, the registration fee is $350 per person. As part of the conference, we also offer pre-conference workshops that are an additional $50 per workshop, and everyone attending a workshop is required to pay the $50 fee, including those receiving the base or the general conference registration. So do note that you can use your ATE grant funds to pay for registration and pre-conference registration fees, as this is an allowable grant expense, and the deadline to register is coming up on September 26th. In terms of hotel reservations, this can get a little confusing, so we hope to alleviate some of that. All individuals are responsible for making their own hotel reservations, including those on your team that are receiving complimentary registrations and lodging. You can make your reservations online by contacting the hotel directly, either online through our website or by calling them. And note that to ensure you receive the group rate, you need to reference the AACC ATE conference. You'll be asked to provide a credit card to guarantee your room, as well as any incidental charges that you may incur during your stay. AACC will cover room and tax for 2 nights for those individuals who are designated as receiving the complimentary registrations. And for those that are paying for their lodging, the conference rate is $261 per night plus tax. For those of you that like to stay longer than 2 nights, the room rate is the same. However, you're responsible for covering the cost of any additional nights. And the Omni extends the group rate based on availability up to 3 days before and 3 days after the conference date if your travel plans exceed the actual conference dates. So please note that when making your hotel reservations, rooms are not automatically put on the master account. So if you call the front desk and say, I'm supposed to have comp rooms, they won't know what you're talking about. What happens is we have you make your reservations. After the cutoff date of September 26th, we take the list of everyone who is in the hotel and we compare it with our registration list, so we can then notify the hotel which rooms are to be assigned to the master account. So that's all done on the back end after the 26th. What we encourage you to do is when you check into the hotel and you are to have your room comped to the master account, please ask the hotel how your room is being billed. If there is an error and they don't show you as being comped, report it to the conference registration desk and we'll fix that prior to checkout. And just a reminder, if you haven't done so already, please make sure to make your hotel reservations by September 26th, as the hotel does always sell out. So travel arrangements. All attendees are responsible for arranging and paying for their own travel. AACC provides airport and ground transportation information on our conference website, and that can be found on the hotel and travel page. When arranging for travel, don't forget to factor in travel expenses such as parking, airport transfers, and meals not offered by the conference. And for your reference, the conference provides the following meals. We do a pretty heavy evening reception on Wednesday around the showcase. We offer breakfast and lunch on Thursday, as well as a light reception in the afternoon, again around our showcase session. We offer breakfast on Friday, and then we do a box lunch on Friday. We'll have those available at the end of the day for those that need them. And it is permissible for you to pay travel costs to the conference out of your ATE grant funds. So if you're a new grantee and you didn't have money budgeted or enough money budgeted to our ATE-PI conference travel, you can move money from another budget category to cover conference travel expenses. However, do not move any money budgeted under participant support without seeking NSF approval first. And if you're in doubt or have any questions about using grant funding to pay for ATE conference travel, please contact your NSF ATE program officer. Okay, quick question. A common question we get, and just as a quick review, I have a new project grant. How many people can I bring to the conference? So total number of people I can bring. Okay, I see the results are coming in. And we're a little bit split. The total people, though I think the majority have gotten this right, the total number you can bring as a project, you can bring up to 5 people to attend. If we can close this poll, and we'll move to the next one. So of the five I can bring a maximum of 5 people. How many of those are complimentary? I see almost everyone's got this. Yes, 2 are complimentary. Okay, we can close the poll now. And Mike, I think we move to our first question break.
Thanks, Ellen. We do have a number of questions, and let me combine a couple of them. Some of our attendees have an award start date that's just happening now on October 1. So there's two questions associated with that. How much realistically can they prepare, or should they prepare for actually presenting or coming to this conference with their grant just starting? And then I'll ask you the follow-up question on that one.
Okay, well, they are expected to attend, and it would really be of advantage to them to do so. The Getting Started pre-conference workshop, which we're going to talk about in the next section, is geared specifically for new grantees, is kind of a how-to guide and where to start. And the conference really is an amazing opportunity to start with your grants. You are expected to attend. In terms of presenting, the only expectation is to be a part of a showcase session, which we'll talk about a little later in the presentation as well. And that, as a new grantee, is not a lot of preparation. It's really just an opportunity to talk about what you're planning to do with your grant. As we know, you haven't had a chance to even do anything yet. You just have the plans. But it gets you talking about your grant, and it gives you an opportunity to network and share information. And you may even engage collaborators or learn of other resources. But it's just a wonderful place to get talking about what you're doing and get engaged with the community. So there's no formal presentation requirements. You are required to attend, and you are required to be a part of a showcase session, which again we'll talk about a little bit later. But that's really more of an informal networking opportunity, and we'll give you some guidelines on how you can prepare for that.
So it seems that if I'm new, one of our participants was pretty honest and said they're nervous about coming to this big conference. They're coming from a small school, but maybe at the start the expectations are somewhat modest for your first-time attendees, right?
Absolutely, yes. We're just trying to ease you into the community. Again, that Getting Started workshop is a big focus that you should be a part of, and there are sessions big and small, and there's certainly a lot of small schools as well. So we're a friendly community, and this is really meant to be community building and networking. So again, the expectations are really just for you to be there and to absorb.
Ellen, I have one more question for you, and then I've got one for Elaine as well. So the question for you is, you talked about the registration system. Can you change your registration? Let's suppose in this particular case, the person has registered. Now they want to go back and add a pre-conference workshop. Is that possible? Is it easy?
Absolutely, it is possible and it's easy. You should have gotten a code. You can actually log back in and add that pre-conference workshop to your registration. And if you're unable to do so, I'm going to type in a email address.
Okay.
You would just email registration, which is in the chat box, and they would help you do that.
What about special needs? Let's say you can see a comment about food allergies or other access questions. How are those handled, Ellen?
When you register through the online system, there is a place where you can indicate if you have any dietary or accessibility needs.
Okay.
And then how we handle that on site is we assess and we look at those. We have labeled buffet items that can accommodate almost any diet. If you have really strong restrictions such as it's kosher, then we will contact you individually and have you look for a server who has your name to give you a specially prepared plate. So we do try our best to really meet all dietary restrictions.
Excellent. Now let me turn to Elaine. Elaine, this question came up, and I know you have a lot of experience in dealing with these fiscal issues. With the grant starting on October 1, can they commit funds at this point? It's sort of a pain, isn't it? You don't actually have that award letter in your hand yet. What do they do, Elaine?
Well, I'm not sure the question is, I'm assuming they have gotten their award letter, but the actual start date isn't until October 1st.
Right.
NSF allows you to incur expenses for your grant up to 90 days before the start date of your grant. They don't send you a check when you get a grant award. You actually have to seek reimbursement for expenses against your award. And so your college will incur the expense, and then we'll be able to draw those funds back down from NSF. And for those of you who need some help with that, the Mentor Connect project does have a tutorial that would help somebody in your business office figure out how to draw down funds from the National Science Foundation. So you're okay. If you've gotten your grant award, you're good to go. And even if your start date isn't until October the 1st, you can go ahead and incur expenses, say to purchase an airline ticket to go to the ATPI conference, and that will be an amount of, of funds that can be recovered from NSF.
Good, thanks, Elaine. And I also wanted to acknowledge one of our participants who echoed that statement as well. So I think that settles that issue. There's a couple of questions that are having to do with the poster sessions, but that's coming up. So I think I'm going to delay those for now. Elaine, why don't you take us forward, talk to us about navigating the conference.
Yeah, Mike, that's a really good question. How do you navigate a conference that offers so many choices? What should you do? Well, let's start with the pre-conference workshops. Ellen just mentioned the pre-conference workshops provided by the ATEPI conference are not quite as optional as they may seem. If you are a new ATE grantee, you really should register for and attend the Getting Started pre-conference workshop. The focus of this workshop is on what you need to know to properly administer an NSF grant and what you need to know to implement the new grant. Dr. Celeste Carter, the lead ATE program officer, and others will be sharing extremely important information that all grantees, but especially new grantees, really need to know. This is also an excellent pre-conference session for an administrator who is attending the conference with you. Administrators can help you communicate important information to your college business office, where most of the burden of compliance with federal regulations falls. Of course, the fact that your grant creates extra work for your business office explains why your business office may not be quite as excited about your award as you are. Other pre-conference workshops also provide an in-depth opportunity to learn and improve your knowledge and skills as a principal investigator. Ellen will tell you more about the other pre-conference workshops in a few minutes. We encourage you to attend the ATEPI conference as a team. As Ellen just explained, you can come with 2 people that get the complimentary hotel and registration, but you can bring up to 5 for a project, and we encourage you to bring 5 people or as close to it as you possibly can. This will enable you to divide up and participate in multiple pre-conference workshops as well as more conference sessions. You may use your grant funds to pay the additional $50 registration fee that is required for each of the pre-conference sessions. And again, the deadline to register is September the 26th, so don't hesitate. The central message here is to come early and stay late. You will not want to miss a minute of the conference. Expect to be very busy the entire time. So if you want to tour Washington, D.C., you need to plan to arrive a day early or stay a day late. This conference is one that keeps you busy morning, noon, and night. Now, Ellen will tell you a little bit more about
so Elaine talked about the
pre-conference
workshops. These are the workshops that are being offered this year. They're posted on the slide. And as Elaine talked about, these are meant to be hands-on sessions. They're 3 to 4 hours in length. And then as Mike mentioned on the question break, there is still time to register for one. So if you'd like to add it, you can go back online to add the pre-con or email the registration desk directly to do so. But we have some strong pre-conference workshops, and as Elaine said, they really are a great place to obtain a lot of information, and the Getting Started for new grantees, highly recommended if you are brand new to ATE. So moving forward, I just want to give you a brief overview of some of the conference content and sessions so you can just get a sense of its offerings. So the conference typically features 2 to 3 plenary sessions with keynote speakers. We generally kick off the conference on the first evening with a plenary session that includes a welcome and introductions from NSF and AACC leadership. And then plenary sessions feature industry and higher education leaders that address the themes of the conference. And I'll just scroll through a few pictures of the plenary sessions. They can feature individuals, panels of national thought leaders, leading scientists and STEM practitioners, as well as students and alums of the ATE program, and the occasional guitar playing, as this picture profiles a funded project, the STEM Guitar Project, that we highlighted one year as having national impact. In this picture, you see a little celebration of the 20th anniversary of the ATE program. Within the center there, Congressman David Price, who is one of the originators of the legislation that helped to fund this program, create this program, and we'll be celebrating the 25th anniversary this year. Our opening keynote speaker is Dr. Christine Darden. She's a former researcher and executive at NASA. And if you're familiar with the book or the movie Hidden Figures, she's one of the women featured in that book, one of NASA's human computers. So she'll be talking to us Wednesday evening. And on Friday morning, we'll feature a panel of community college presidents that were formerly ATEPIs. So they've been where you've been, and they'll be talking about the history and the significance of the ATE program and some tips along the way. So we're excited to have Dr. Harrison, president of Columbus State Community College, Dr. Edwin Massey, president of Indian River Community College, Dr. Annette Parker, president of South Central College, joining us on Friday. So we'll talk about a few of the other types of sessions. On Thursday morning, we hold 4 concurrent sessions, and these are more formal presentations, panel-type presentations that discuss and address topics that pertain to the conference theme. We're finalizing the sessions for the 2018 ATE conference, but the concurrent sessions are going to focus on industry and employer engagement. We have a number of industry presenters preparing technicians for emerging technologies in the future of work. We have a session on contextualized math. We know math is a challenge and a barrier for many of our students, so we'll be talking about successful and proven strategies around math. And then we'll be featuring a panel of alums, since it's the 25th anniversary, spanning back 25, 20, 15, 10 years into the program, that are all now successfully employed in industry, and talking to them about their experience in the ATE program and in the workforce, and sharing what they think, what skills students need to be successful in the STEM technical workforce. So we have some exciting sessions in the morning. We also have breakfast roundtables each morning. So these are smaller venues. This is literally walking into the breakfast room and selecting a table to sit and having a small interactive discussion. The breakfast roundtable topics are proposed and listed in the conference program. They'll be facilitated by someone who proposed to hold the roundtable, and participants can select the roundtable to attend that are of interest to them. They're first come, first serve. So that's a great way to get your feet wet before the larger session starts. So there's one again Thursday morning and one on Friday morning. Then we break into several different types of sessions on Thursday morning, afternoon, and Friday. AACC issues a call for sessions asking conference participants to submit proposals to conduct presentations or lead sessions with the goal of sharing case studies, experiences, promising strategies, and lessons learned. So you'll see these types of sessions on the agenda. We have 45-minute forum sessions, and those provide additional venues for formal presentations. So they might be panels that drill down a little closer into topic areas than the concurrent sessions, which tend to be high level. We have 45-minute discussion sessions, and those are really an interactive venue for grantees to share promising strategies and lessons learned with members of the AT community, and to share insights and explore ways to collaborate. So there are discussion moderators that will facilitate those sessions. We have demonstration sessions, and they're designed as formal 30-minute presentations that show how to apply a pedagogical tool or concept. It'll walk attendees through a step-by-step explanation of the concept and how it can best be applied or implemented. And then new this year, on Friday, we have high impact workshops. Those are 2-hour workshops that are going to address targeted areas of need within the AT community that's relevant and applicable across STEM disciplines. And then an opportunity for synergy meetings also on Friday, more informal sessions for AT community members with similar projects and interests to get together to meet and to discuss ideas and common challenges. So it's really designed to get you all talking to one another, sharing lessons learned, challenges and proven strategies. So we hope that you will divide and conquer, as Elaine said, and see if you can get to your team to as many different sessions as you can. Okay, the showcase sessions. I know there'll be a lot of questions about this, but the showcase sessions are really the highlight of the event, and it provides grantees an opportunity to exhibit their projects and share information with other programs, with NSF, and with guests at the conference. It's consistently highly rated on conference evaluation forums. Last year, 96% of our attendees found that the showcases were the most valuable conference activity. So all ATE projects and centers are asked to present displays that capture the purpose of their programs, the products of their programs, or in the case of new grantees, what you're planning to do. And there will be 2 showcase sessions at the conference this year that feature a blend of projects and centers. And these are just some photos from the showcase sessions. Just so you know, the showcases do not run like a standard exhibit hall. There are no vendors at the conference. It's just the projects and centers, and they're designed to promote networking and information sharing among the ATE community. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about attending the showcases and also about being on the other side of the booth and sharing information about your programs. So I'm going to turn to Elaine to talk a little bit more about attending the showcases.
Thanks, Ellen. I checked the NSF website about a week ago, and there are 355 active ATE awards right now, which translates into a large number of showcase exhibits that you'll want to explore. The conference program can help you prioritize your exploration during the showcases. The showcase abstracts, and there's a sample on the screen right now, will enable you to identify projects or centers whose work is of greatest interest to you. It is stimulating to shop for ideas beyond your discipline. Some of the most energizing partnerships and innovative work come from cross-discipline collaborations. Attend with an open mind and behave like a sponge. Just soak it all in. A portion of the ATE centers and projects will be showcased on Wednesday night and the remainder on Thursday. In addition, at both showcases, you will find several special exhibits that feature program-wide services. Examples of program-wide service exhibits include the Evaluate exhibit that focuses on project evaluation support for grantees, and the Mentor Connect exhibit that features mentoring and technical support for preparing competitive ATE grant proposals. During the exhibits, you will be inspired by the work of other grantees, and you are likely to find the resources and possibly even new partners to make your project dreams come true. You may pick up ideas for your next grant proposal as well. As a special treat, you will have an opportunity to visit an ATE student and alumni poster session this year. The showcase sessions provide an amazing opportunity to meet people and share ideas. The atmosphere is very social. In preparing your exhibit this year, keep in mind 3 things will be of greatest interest to those visiting your exhibit. First is the great idea that got you funded. And for those of you who are brand spanking new, that may be what you really want to focus on because you do not have outcomes, which is the next most important thing that people are interested in about your work. And the third is materials and resources that you can share to help others implement your best practices. So if you're brand new, focus on this great idea that got you funded and maybe some of the innovative strategies that you're going to use to achieve your goals. Even if you have only recently received an ATE award, as I mentioned, you are expected to participate in a showcase session. Your exhibit need not be elaborate. A few photos, graphs, or charts may be sufficient to convey the concept of your project. Plan to talk with people about your project during the showcase. Don't fill your exhibit with heavy text. Use photos and graphics and perhaps models on your table to attract attention. People do not stop by your exhibit to read print, but rather to talk with you about your project and your work. Focus your exhibit on highlighting the big ideas or outcomes you expect to achieve or have already accomplished. What is your main focus? Is it increasing female recruitment and retention in engineering technology? Infusing nanotechnology concepts into physical science courses? Or perhaps you are launching an internship program in a geospatial technology program. Keep your exhibit simple and to the point, and then rely on your conversations with participants to provide details about your work. You will need to have someone at your exhibit at all times. Attending the conference as a team allows you to take turns hosting the exhibit. This will make it possible for you to see and learn more. As you visit exhibits, notice the size of the exhibits and the styles and features of the various displays. What appeals to you? Take some photos, and then you can model your next exhibit on designs that you think will work best for showcasing your project. One last point. You should prepare, I'll get this right in a minute, an exhibit that is specific to the ATEPI conference. Avoid using an exhibit that was developed solely for the purpose of advertising your college. It is good to recognize your college, of course, but your exhibit for the ATEPI conference should be specifically about your ATE project, and you should include the NSF logo and your grant number on all display materials so that you'll always have the appropriate attribution there. Now to the yummy part. The food functions associated with exhibits are located adjacent to the exhibits in the same big room, and the food is always a treat. This arrangement provides great opportunities not only for exploring the exhibits, but also for gathering
We do have several
around the table with new
questions.
friends and colleagues to
Elaine, one is,
pursue
since
common
we have a
interests.
monitor there, should we just
At
run
this
a
point, let's take
slideshow
a
on the
short
monitor
break,
as
Mike,
opposed to
and
doing a
see if there are any
backdrop
questions
presentation?
that our audience has for us. Well, I think that you will need something more than
Right.
just the monitor. Although you can certainly do that. Just even if it's nothing but sort of a
I
big
have to
banner
admit,
that's
when
got
I've
your
been
project
walking
name on
around
it
the
or your
showcases,
location,
I
where,
find
where
relatively
is
few
your
people
college.
looking at the monitor
I would put
displays,
something
except in very
something there
specific
other than just
circumstances.
the
They're mainly there to talk to you,
PowerPoint
so I liked your
presentation.
advice of not having too much words, but mainly enough there to engage people and get them to talk. I think that's the message, isn't it?
Right. And sometimes it is so busy and you have so many people who are interested that for one person to stand there and take the time
Elaine,
to go
have you
through a
run
whole
into this
PowerPoint
question?
presentation
People have
on a
asked
screen
about
or something
space for
is
potentially
really,
doing a
it's
demonstration,
not
right?
really
I know there's
efficient.
been
It
robotics
doesn't
things, there are
help you
drones.
share your
Can
information
people
with the greatest
actually
number of
set
people
aside a
in
little
the
space and
smallest
do a
amount of time.
demonstration of some of these things? Is that possible? Okay.
Hi, Mike. We're
Ellen,
actually
what do
going
you
to go
think?
over the booth space requirements and AV and what we offer in the next session. But yes, whatever
I'm
you
going to
bring
toss
has to
this
fit
one
within
to
an 8
Ellen
by
because
10
there are some
area.
space
We basically
limitations
give
in
you
this
a
exhibit
carpeted
hall.
booth space, and I'll go over exactly what we supply. But if you're going to do any type of demonstration, it has to fit within that that size, that 8 by 10 booth.
So maybe
Probably
flying my
not, and
drone
the
inside my
ceilings
booth
are
might
pretty
not
low
be
at
the
the
best
Omni
thing.
as well, as you can see from this picture.
I remember. So a couple of questions about registration, but I think you're going to be talking more about that. I saw your response about the need to register for this. But one of the, so I know that's coming up. Another question came up. If I have to be at, you told me I have to be at my, I'm paraphrasing the question, Ellen. You told me I have to be at my exhibit.
Well, there'll be
How do I
two
get to see the
showcase
other
sessions.
exhibits?
So for one of the showcases, I would make an attempt to be as many booths as possible. And then for the other showcase, if you're just by yourself, that obviously that'd be pretty tough to see other showcase sessions, which is why we encourage you to come as a team. But you would, of the two showcase sessions, you're only presenting at one. So the other one is where you would really take advantage of seeing other booths.
Okay. Here's one. Either I'll start with you, Ellen, but Elaine might chime in. If you're going to prepare handouts, how many should you prepare?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're directing that to me.
What would you guess?
I would
let's start with
say
you, and then
less
we'll go
is
to
more. A
Elaine and
lot
see
of
what she
people
thinks.
might come and pick things up, but I would say probably no more than 100. You don't want to come home with a lot of things. Elaine might be a little different. I would say if they're smaller flyers, people are more apt to pick them up, but if you're bringing big or bulky materials, people don't tend to take those to travel.
Elaine, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Ellen. And they sometimes they will look at it. Sometimes if it's a useful item, for instance, if it's a pencil that's got your project name, URL or something like that on it, they'll take that and that'll make it home, and that way they'll know how to get in touch with you. But if it's much print material, sometimes it's a better idea if they look at a sample at your exhibit and then get them to just give you a business card or sign in on a sheet, and then you can either send them an
Sure.
electronic file or even mail something to them after the conference. What you really don't want to do is to spend a lot of your printing budget printing up things that people end up tossing in the trash can.
Okay, well, that
because
really
they
answers the
just
question.
can't
I'm not
buy
bringing
home a lot
300 of these
material.
things, something
So,
like 175,
as
that
Ellen
should do.
said, less is really better.
Okay,
And
I'd also
certainly
like to
not more than
encourage
100.
exhibitors
Sometimes you
to
don't need more
bring
than 50 or 75 of
Twizzlers,
something,
because when
to
I walk
share.
around the conference hall, I always look for Twizzlers. It's a terrible thing with me. So, sorry, Elaine, I just had to throw that in there.
Right.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's candy. Twizzlers are candy. Okay. You know what? Let's go forward. There's several questions. I know we're going to address some of those coming up about internet and some other things, but let me click forward here. There we go. Ellen, why don't you talk about maximizing?
So in this section, we'll talk a little bit about submitting a proposal in response to the call for sessions. We'll delve a little deeper into displaying at the showcase sessions and then joining the conference steering committee, so thinking ahead. So as we talked about previously, we issued a call for sessions inviting proposals from ATE grantees to conduct conference sessions. And I mentioned this as it's a really good way to get involved in the conference. The deadline just passed for this year. We're in the process of scheduling and going through all of those sessions now, but this is something to consider for future years of the conference. And then back to the showcase sessions, as Elaine talked about, your participation is required. As new grantees, I'll address some of this because I was seeing a lot of questions in the chat box. There are no formal poster presentation guidelines. You don't have to do a poster. We have poster board available if you'd like to pin up photos. You don't have to travel with a poster board. You don't have to travel with a poster if you don't want to. You could bring some pictures. You can bring things, and we provide a cardboard trifold poster board. The dimensions are on the website, and I can pull them on a question break, and we provide pins for you to affix those things. So during a setup period, we really try to give you some items to assemble your display. When you're further along in your project, if you do have a display to send, you would ship those, and Elaine's going to talk about that as well. So you don't have to, or you could travel with them. But I just wanted to address that I don't want there to be a misconception that you're required to present a formal poster. These are informal sessions. You have a booth space, but as Elaine said, it could be some pictures, it could be some handouts, or we do have trifold, those cardboard poster boards where if you want to put up some pictures of your plans, of your materials, of your facilities, that's a place to do so as well. We are divided into 2 showcases this year, the first being on Wednesday with a setup period from 3:15 to 5, the showcase itself running from 7 to 9:15, and then there's a breakdown period immediately following. And then on Thursday morning, we have you set up bright and early over breakfast, so you're able to attend the other sessions during the day with the showcase from 3:45 to 6, and you break down immediately following. As I talked about, each booth that AACC assigns all booth space for the showcases, and you're going to need to fit whatever you bring or whatever you want to demo into the space offered by AACC. Each project and center receives a carpeted 8x10 booth, 1 6x30 draped table, and 2 chairs. So that's what we offer. This is kind of an example you could see of a booth, and you can see people brought these posters with them. But again, you're not required to do posters. And then in addition to providing booth space, tables, and chairs, AACC provides electrical connections to each booth and a selection of audiovisual resources. So if you did want to bring your laptop computer to display anything related to your project, you would have the capability for power and to do so. And you can also request one of these pieces of equipment. You could request a flat screen monitor, so you could enlarge those images for those coming through the showcases, or even a projection screen if you wanted to project images. As somebody pointed out from the website, though you're required to showcase, you still need to sign up because we are going to assign you to either Wednesday or Thursday, and we're going to give you an actual booth number. And we're going to ask you to submit an abstract so we can put in the conference program that at booth 101, this college is doing a showcase with a short abstract of what you'll be sharing information on pertaining to your project. We ask you to please reserve your space by September 19. In that, you can indicate if you'd rather be on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and we schedule those first come, first serve in terms of, whoever gets in first and requests Wednesday, that's where we'll put them until our space fills, and you can do that through the conference website. I will note that there is no internet in the exhibit hall. If you want or really think you need internet as part of the exhibitor kit, you can order and pay for it yourself. That is an option, but AACC offers electricity and this amount of AV. And then I'll turn it back to Elaine to talk about assembling displays and materials, which gets back to the question of how do you travel with these things once you have more to share. Elaine?
Okay, thanks, Ellen. Participating in the ATEPI Conference Showcase is an exciting way to share with others, but it is also a lot of work. Prior planning can help eliminate some of the frustrations associated with this activity. Make sure that you have ordered and checked out all of your materials well in advance of the conference. Remember that everything takes longer than you think it should. It is a good idea to practice assembling your exhibit at your institution to minimize surprises when you get to DC. If there are items or graphics to be placed directly on the display or arranged in front of the display after it is assembled, I suggest you take photographs of your design during your practice run at home so that you can quickly duplicate it when you get to Washington. Beware if you plan to use overhead lights with your exhibit. There will be no ladders or step stools available for your use in the exhibit hall. If you have a tall team member, you may need to encourage him or her to help you set up the exhibit. Since supplies, tools, ladders, and help may not be available at the time you need to assemble your display, think through everything in advance. For example, don't tape your boxes so tightly that you can't get them open without the scissors or box opener that you placed inside the box. This can easily happen because you can't travel with these sharp objects on the airplane. Most exhibitors provide small giveaways to attract visitors to and to advertise their project or center. The idea is to encourage people to follow up with you after the conference. For that reason, your primary giveaway should be a personalized item for your project with your contact information and perhaps a website URL. As you visit exhibits this year, notice what items people have chosen for this purpose. Think about what will work for your project. Some people choose items related to their discipline. Others attract people with candy, luggage tags, or other low-cost items. And if you want Mike to come see you, have Swizzlers. Right, Mike? Think small and lightweight. Keep in mind that most people fly to the conference and have limited baggage space to take things home. Also, it is important to adhere to all applicable NSF and your own institution's procurement guidelines in providing this type of promotional item. The objective is to facilitate the spread of information about your project and to make it easy for someone to connect with you after the conference. The nuts and bolts of getting your exhibit to the conference and back to your institution after the event can be grueling and expensive. Be diligent in figuring out all costs in advance. As you make plans to purchase and ship your exhibit, if you've got one that needs to be shipped in advance, you will have an excellent opportunity to make friends with your college purchasing as well as shipping and receiving departments. You will need their help more often than you realize. There is an exhibitor kit included in the conference registration packet, and Ellen mentioned that earlier, and it provides detailed information that you and your college will need in order to handle this task. Please read the fine print. This bears repeating. Read the fine print. For example, do not attempt to ship exhibit materials to yourself at the hotel. Ship your materials as instructed and well in advance of the conference. And don't forget to make arrangements for return shipping to your college at the conclusion of your showcase session. A round-trip ticket is needed, and these things do not magically happen. It is your responsibility to make the appropriate arrangements and to get the financial approvals necessary from your college and payments made. All of these costs can be charged to your grant. Now we'll go back to Ellen and learn more about how this conference actually gets organized each year.
Thanks, Elaine. So you might wonder how the conference gets planned and how we decide on what sessions to conduct. So the conference is actually planned each year by a steering committee that consists of AACC staff, NSF program directors, and representatives from ATE projects and centers. The committee meets through monthly conference calls, typically from February through September, and steering committee members provide input into the conference agenda and help to develop and moderate the sessions. So if you're interested in serving on a conference steering committee for future ATE conference planning, please contact AACC staff. And we also welcome ideas for speakers or for sessions and content, and we really consult the conference evaluation survey that we distribute at the end of the conference. So this is an early plug that we strongly encourage you to complete the online evaluation survey following the event and provide us with your suggestions for improvement or things you'd like to see at future conferences. Because when we start planning for the next year, that's the first place we go. We start with the survey. I think we have a question break here, Mike. I don't know if we want to move forward or take questions at this point.
You know what, Ellen? You've really been good about answering questions in the chat window. Let's move forward and we'll take a final questions as we wrap up.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Okay, identifying your program officer. So if you need assistance in identifying your program officer at the event, the Teaching Technician website has a section entitled Help for PIs. So this is if you don't know your program director, which can happen. We have rotators that are assigned to grants, and as program directors rotate on and off. You can go to the Teaching Technician's website and look for the section entitled Help for PIs, and that offers a step-by-step instruction on how to navigate NSF's website to find the listing for your program officer. To help on-site, AACC provides photos of the NSF program directors in the conference program. Program officers are also asked to stand and be identified at plenary sessions, and they wear red ribbons that say NSF under their name badges. So you can look for those red ribbons and ask any program director your question. They're really good about that. In terms of connecting with program directors at the event, that's a little tougher as the conference is attended, as we've talked about, by approximately 800 people. Your ATE program officer typically manages several of those awards, and locating them at the conference can be literally like finding a needle in a haystack. So if you'd really like to meet your program officer, we strongly suggest you contact them in advance of the conference and try to make arrangements for where and when to meet. On-site, NSF program officers are likely to be in the showcase sessions as depicted in these photos. This is Celeste Carter in the top photo and Corby Hovis in the bottom photo. And then each morning during the breakfast roundtables on Thursday and Friday morning, there will be program directors just there to staff tables for general questions. It's just to get to know program directors. So there is an opportunity to find them in the showcases and then at those breakfast roundtables. But again, if you've got targeted questions and really need to meet, we strongly suggest you reach out to them ahead of time. Just wanted to move through and give an overview of ATE student participation and events. So this deadline is coming up. The conference offers a wonderful opportunity for students to attend, and we hope you'll consider nominating students from your projects. So each year we award approximately 50 scholarships to ATE students to attend the event, and those selected receive free registration and 2 nights lodging. And the project or center is responsible for the student's airfare and other travel expenses, which is an allowable use of your grant funds. Each project or center may nominate up to 2 students or recent alumni to attend the conference, and they just complete and submit an application form, which is on the website. We do ask you to note that if you have a student younger than 18, sometimes we get dual enrollment high school students, you'll need the permission of the parent and or guardian, and you'll need to have a dedicated faculty member accompany the applicant to the conference. And again, you still have time to nominate a student if you've not done so. The application deadline is Tuesday, September 11th, and AACC will notify students selected to attend and their supporting PIs by Friday, September 14th. I want to just quickly give you an idea of why this is such a great opportunity and some of the activities we've planned for students. During the conference, students often have the opportunity to present at various conference sessions. In the past, we've had plenary sessions, concurrent sessions, and breakfast roundtables led by students. And it also gives them an opportunity to showcase their ATE program. Unlike the showcase sessions, new this year, the students will do a poster session with poster session guidelines, and this will be at Thursday at around lunch. They're expected to prepare a poster related to their program of study and their current work. And I strongly encourage all of you to take time during lunch on Thursday to go through the student posters and talk with the students. For many of them, the conference marks the first time they've been on a plane or traveled out of state, and they have remarkable journeys and programs that we're working on. So we really hope you'll make a point of engaging with students during the poster session. And a personal highlight of the event is the Student Recognition Breakfast. On Friday morning, students will be honored and receive certificates, be recognized by NSF for their achievements in STEM. They're nominating PIs, so you're also encouraged and more than welcome to attend the breakfast with the students. And in addition, the conference offers an industry speed networking session specifically for students, and it affords student participants the opportunity to meet with accomplished business professionals, as well as the opportunity to learn and practice interview and communication skills. And we'll share a complete schedule of student events, a student guide to the AT conference, and we also offer a student orientation webinar on Wednesday, September 19th, to make sure all students are aware of their conference activities and opportunities. And so here we have a question break, Mike, and then I think we just have a few more slides after that.
You know what? I think we're good. We've covered all the questions. There's going to be an app we're going to be sending people out. We saw some of the titles of the high-impact workshops on Friday. They sounded actually very interesting. I'll probably save one last question for that final question break. So why don't you go ahead, Ellen?
Okay, thank you. So first, this was our student cohort from last year, so we always do a group photo. And just a few other conference questions, common questions we get about attire and internet access. The conference attire is business casual, and we recommend you dress in layers. I think a lot of you have been to conferences, know the conference rooms can be cool. And we also encourage you to wear comfortable shoes. The Omni Hotel is a beautiful property, but it's a historic property, and it's laid out a little challenging to find some of the rooms, and we basically take over the whole hotel. So there is some walking involved, so we encourage you to wear comfortable shoes and be prepared to walk between sessions. In terms of complimentary wireless access, we provide that to conference participants in the meeting rooms and in the common areas of the hotel, everywhere except the exhibit hall, and we'll provide the code with your registration materials. And conference participants also receive complimentary wireless access in their sleeping rooms. And the code for the sleeping rooms will be provided upon check-in, or you can obtain that information from the registration desk. And now I just wanted to turn it over to Elaine to talk about some ATE resources so you're aware of them, and maybe they help you prepare for the conference as well. Elaine?
Oh, thanks, Ellen. Mike already mentioned to you about ATE Central. You can think of them as sort of your Google search or Eric search for all things ATE. Teachingtechnicians.org has a number of things that can help you with about 2,000 rather registered users on the site. This is a good place to find out where faculty development events are being held across the ATE program, or to advertise your own events. There's also a compendium of research on technician education at this site, which is a unique opportunity to research best practices and research data on technician education for perhaps your next grant proposal. You can find snippets of video for making and building your own recruitment video, and some tips for principal investigators. Mentor Connect, as was mentioned earlier, helps people write competitive grant proposals for the ATE program. The Evaluate.org website is the evaluation support for ATE community. ATE TV has a fabulous collection of videos on technician education with real live technicians and employers, and all of their videos are downloadable and free for use, and we encourage everybody to take advantage of that resource. And then the High Impact Technology Exchange Conference, or HITECH, is a wonderful conference that is produced by a collaboration of ATE grantees each year, and we encourage you to investigate that as a possible place for disseminating your grant results and for meeting colleagues in technician education and for showcasing what you have done. We want to go over and remind you one more time of all the deadlines. Again, if you, we always have a few awards, our NSF does, made late in the grant cycle. If you get a late award or you've just received one and you haven't gotten the information from AACC about this conference yet, and you found out about this webinar some other way, please reach out to AACC. They're most accommodating and will help anybody who gets a late award to make sure that you get to participate in the conference this year and don't miss anything. So watch those deadlines closely, and particularly the hotel reservations really operate on a timeline before the deadline, or you're likely to be at an off-site property, which is not nearly as convenient. Okay, here's some contact information if you have any questions or need anything after this webinar. The staff at AACC, led by Ellen Haas, is available and will handle any of your inquiries about the conference. And if you have other general questions about the ATE program, you can direct them to her as well, and she will get you in touch with the right people. So with that, Mike, I think we'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Elaine. I wanted to make a final remark here, is that this is really a community that all of us are taking part in, joining perhaps for the first time. When you see Ellen and Elaine and myself, Mike Lasecki, at the conference, come up and say hello. Just tell us, boy, you guys produce an amazingly good webinar, very informative. We'd appreciate hearing that. I'm just teasing Ellen and Elaine. I'm always saying stuff like that. But you can help us, friends, if you, as this webinar closes, I'm going to launch a survey. It'll open in a separate browser window, and so please take a moment and respond to that survey. That helps us refine this presentation going forward, helps us engage you as members of the ATE community. Ellen and Elaine, thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to the event next week coming up in October. I appreciate all of the information that you've provided today. Let's see, one last reminder, the webinar is recorded. You'll automatically get a link to the recording and the slides in a few days. So here I go. I'm launching that browser right now. I'm browsing to the website. There it is. So please, that will open in another window. Go ahead and officially complete that form. Colleagues, this ends our webinar. Thank you again for joining today. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you in Washington, D.C. next month. Goodbye.